Assalamulaikum everyone. Welcome back to Project Manchala. My name is Mohammed Abbas Merchant. For those of you joining for the very first time, I am a photographer and filmmaker based in Karachi, Pakistan. This is my podcast where I talk about anything and everything that catches my fancy. Today, I have my very good friend Alina Zehra on board, and we have a very interesting topic for all of you comic book fans. Before we begin, I'm going to kick it over to Alina so she can introduce herself to you guys. Alina?
Hi, so my name is Alina Zehra, and I'm just a second year student from a BDS program. And that's all there is to me.
Just that. She's doing medical. That's it.
I'm
That's all
not a
you need
real
to know.
doctor.
Won't disagree, but it's okay
I mean,
because he's not real.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, he's a cop. So his opinion doesn't matter.
just the figment of your imagination.
Exactly.
Mm.
Anyways, okay. So today we are going to be talking about Spider-Man 3 and the implications it has on the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. So I think we should kick it off by talking about the fact that the movie has announced that they're going to be bringing back a bunch of old characters, especially old characters from different continuities, to basically essentially give us a live action Spider-Verse. So before we get into like the individual characters, what's your thought on having like a live action Spider-Verse?
I would adore that. Honestly, if they managed to pull it off, it'd be the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to see Holland as
Mm-hmm.
like the main premise over there because I know for a
Mm-hmm.
fact that Disney is being iffy with the rights.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony was like, we'll go ahead and start another one or we'll introduce another Spider-Man, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that I want. So if that's the
Mm-hmm.
scenario, I would rather not have it. But
Mm-hmm.
if Disney does pull up and Marvel manages to, convince Sony to do it, I think it's going to be the best thing ever. I think it's going to be better than the Avengers.
That is a bold thing to say,
But
especially for a lot of people who might
yeah,
be listening in right now.
yeah. But you see, right? You get Tobey Maguire, you see Andrew Garfield, you get Tom Holland. It's like the best of all three worlds. It's like
Mm-hmm.
pitting yourself, like your childhood, your teenage, and your adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
because these are like, at least for our generation, that's
Mm-hmm.
how we saw Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's gonna be three worlds colliding, and it's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
It's a very interesting take that you mentioned, like the main three Spider-Man that we've had in the past 20 years, I guess. And
Yeah.
so when I've had this conversation with a bunch of friends, right? Like it's the main debate that comes up whenever you bring up the Spider-Man, oh, who was the best, right? And personally, I feel like each one of them had something individual to
Mm.
them that was just good. I believe Tobey Maguire was a really good Spider-Man, but not as good of a Peter Parker. I personally really liked, no, actually the other way around. I believed he was a good Peter Parker,
Beautiful.
but not that good of a Spider-Man. I personally really liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but not so much as Peter Parker. But then Tom Holland just feels like a nice blend of the both of them. He's
Yeah.
cool, but he's also dorky. He's strong, but he's also still just a kid. So I feel like they finally sort of nailed that age bracket as well and gotten
Yeah.
to a point where the actor that they've got now, they're also super passionate about being Spider-Man and then also captures what it means to be Spider-Man, which is also a feeling that they really got right with the
Um,
2018 Spider-Man game. They captured the
yeah.
essence of what it feels like to be
Yeah.
Spider-Man, right? So I feel like they're doing good things with Tom Holland as of right now. And the fact that they've introduced the following characters for the upcoming movie. So they've confirmed Jamie Foxx's Electro. They've confirmed the original Doc Ock. They've confirmed Mary Jane from the Sam Raimi films, as well as Tobey Maguire. They've confirmed Andrew Garfield. They've also confirmed Charlie Cox as Daredevil and Doctor Strange का तो हमें सबसे शुरू से पता ही था. And they've also apparently confirmed that what was her name? Emma Stone. I'm such a terrible person. Good God,
Yeah.
I'm a terrible
Yeah.
host. Emma
When
Stone has also apparently been confirmed, which I don't know how they're gonna do that because in case anyone who didn't watch the Amazing Spider-Man 2, spoiler alert, she died. badly.
How are they gonna put Kristen Dunst and Mary Jane Zendaya, while like both of them together is my question. Like, how are they gonna
Dude,
put the
my
two
question is
very
how the
famous
hell
kids?
are they gonna have like 9 characters on screen in like roughly 1.5 घंटे की movie and give them an equal amount of time? Because a bunch of the
Do
reports
you
that I've read, mhm.
do you think they're gonna pull a Spider-Man 3 on this one and then just screw it up?
So I feel like there is a very possible chance this is going to become very similar to not only Spider-Man 3, it felt all a little over the place with too many different plot lines, but I feel like it has a
Mm,
very likely chance of becoming an Amazing Spider-Man 2, wherein there were too many characters introduced and there were too many plot lines that were left, just incomplete. You had um Gwen Stacy wanting to go abroad for her studies. You also had Peter trying to manage, not just being like a graduate now and then work and then taking care of his aunt, but then also being Spider-Man all at once. And then Harry Osborn just randomly coming out of nowhere and then apparently dying. So it was a bunch of different things all at once, right? And I feel
oh,
like
Venom's
that
gonna be. I think I forgot to
Well, I'm
mention that.
sorry, Venom's supposed to be in this one?
Yeah,
Was it confirmed?
I heard. Basically, I saw a few articles that Venom's gonna be in this one too.
Ladies and gentlemen, we apparently have another character that's allegedly confirmed. I personally haven't read this, so I'm not sure about this one, but I can confirm the others that I did name drop.
Yeah.
So at least 8 people that I am sure of are going to be in this. I'm not sure about Venom though, but so that's at least 8 characters who have confirmed apart from the returning cast. So let's just let that settle in because the returning cast is going to be at least confirmed. Tom Holland, Zendaya, I forget the dude's name who's supposed to play Ned, and then Ned's girlfriend. So these 4 people are confirmed making a comeback. So चार ये लोग, and then allegedly 9 ये लोग. So it's going to be very interesting how Sony and Marvel are going to balance that because that just feels like a lot. Boy, I feel like it just comes back to right. The movie might feel bloated, which I feel like was your perception of how Endgame felt as well, right? So
Yeah.
do you want to maybe talk about that a little bit as well? How
I
I feel
mean,
like you're
look,
going to piss off a
growing
lot of
up,
people.
I know. But see, growing up, Iron Man was my boo. All right, they
Hmm.
killed him, and you don't want to see the person that you love die on screen because it's
Hmm.
like too real. And I couldn't cry because my dad was right beside me, and if I cried, he'd just make fun of me the entire time. So and like Black Widow and Iron Man, I don't know. I still feel like they kill them off just to get a reaction.
I mean, but that's the whole point of movies, right? To do stuff
I
for a
mean, yeah,
reaction.
but I feel like it was a forced plot line. Like they didn't
I personally didn't
go like
take
that.
take it that way. Because if you consider the fact they'd been leading up to a point where they were like, okay, someone has to die, right? It's either going to be Chris Evans or it's going to be
Mm,
Robert Downey Jr. You knew it was bound to happen eventually, right? We weren't sure which one of them it would end up being, but we
yeah.
were sure it was bound to happen, one or the other, right? So, I mean,
Don't you feel like
yeah,
more more fitting for Captain America to die? I mean,
well,
I don't
for
know.
sure.
He's the dude.
But then they
Yeah,
also
it's like
justified it by paying back to the original line in Avengers 1 where they said, okay, take away your suit and what's left of you. They kept going back to that one point, okay, the suit is what made Iron Man a hero. But then they were also going back to that same line where okay, everything that made Captain America special came out of a bottle. Both of those points were gone back to in the fourth film and then they were proven wrong. Captain America lifted up Mjolnir, which proves that even if he didn't have the serum, he'd still be worthy. He'd still be able to fight for justice, right? Tony Stark gave up his life. He let go of his arrogance, his ego. He was willing to trust others for once because that was a recurring plot point, right? He could not trust others with the safety of the world, with the safety of his loved ones. That's why he made Ultron. That's why he eventually tried to do so much to save the world, right? So we could see he was letting go of his selfishness with each individual movie that he was in. But I do get your point about the film possibly feeling bloated because after you mentioned during one of our passing conversations, K Avengers Endgame did feel bloated. I went back, I watched it again, I considered things from apart from just like a starstruck fan's perspective. I do see what you mean though. I do get the idea. Okay, it could be said, okay, the movie does feel bloated because there are quite a few different characters, there are quite a few plot elements all at once.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it just felt like uh, from someone who writes and kind of directs plays, like I've done that in the past, not like on a huge scale, but it has been a passion. I feel like things could have been written differently, especially if you're the one with creative. It's in your hands. So yeah, but I feel like I'm just salty about his death. That's
I mean, I
pretty
get that.
sure
I
like
do
this
get
is
that.
my favorite character of. I
No,
mean,
I mean, I
what?
get that. I get that. Like, I personally felt like I didn't personally feel that as much with Endgame, like you mentioned. I did feel like Infinity War was bloated, and I personally didn't enjoy the pacing too much. I felt like we were bouncing around too much, and they didn't really do justice to each individual arc of the film. So I do get that with Infinity War, and I feel like that's something that they're gonna have to be very, very careful with Spider-Man 3. The film, for one, doesn't feel bloated with the amount of characters they have, and there are a bunch of routes that they could go with it, right? They could be showing instances from the individual dimensions, and then maybe just giving all the characters together egg those scenes, um, or they could just have them introduced from the start, and then aista karke having all of them introduced like into the Spider-Verse did. So there's a couple of routes that they could go through with it, right?
But if they do manage to like make a reenactment of Into the Spider-Verse, are they going to
Hmm.
introduce a new Miles? Because they
I
can't
don't
whitewash
know.
him.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I don't know if they'd be interested in introducing Miles as of yet, because we need to consider the fact that Tom Holland is still very, very young
Yeah.
as his version of Spider-Man, right? And usually, even in the comics or the games, whenever Miles is introduced, it's at least a couple of years into the future when Peter's a veteran now. He's been doing this for a while now. So I don't think it would be smart to introduce Miles right now unless you do a sort of thing where he's like super young right now and he doesn't become a Spider-Man. Because अभी से करने का फायदा नहीं हो, like it could be nice foreshadowing for the future. Kid, oh, random
Mm.
kid, ha ha ha, he's black. Oh, maybe he could be Spider-Man. I don't know. I don't know. But I mean that's something you can do, right? But
Yeah. I feel like there's so many ways this could go.
wrong.
Uh, I don't. Yeah. There's just like I feel like it's a recipe for disaster. But now that you've already made Infinity Wars, you've already made Avengers, you've already made Endgame,
Hmm.
it's like you sort of might have an idea of how to balance our characters. Like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Spider-Man 3 is like the most critically acclaimed, right? It is a
Hmm.
horrible movie. It did horrible
Hmm.
in on charts, even though I personally don't mind it as
Neither
much
did
because
I.
it
It
felt
was
like a ball.
fine.
Yeah, it was
It
like
was
a Bollywood
fine.
take on Spider-Man
I
with
wouldn't
all of
go as
those
far as to
dance
say
numbers.
that. I feel like that's not doing the film justice. But no, I enjoyed the film. I don't get,
Yeah,
all the bad mouthing that it had. It was not the best, but it was fine. And at the end of it, that's what we want, right? Our movies to be
yeah.
fine. They don't have to be the great all of the time. And I mean that's okay.
It was
But I feel like
entertaining.
it's like exactly that at the end of it, I was entertained.
Yeah,
And that's all I want from my films to be
yeah.
entertained. And yeah, I feel like there's a very strong argument to make that the film could go wrong in a lot of ways. But like you mentioned as well, over the years they have mastered the recipe of how to have films of with like a lot of overarching characters. But then you also have issues that even Avengers had, wherein if you're not a big name, you're not going to get enough screen time or enough development. That
Mhm.
was a lot of the issue that people had with Black Widow. She barely had a character, and then killing her off didn't
She
get the
deserves her own
emotion.
movie.
Exactly. And then apart from that, she still get the emotional reaction that a lot of fans were apparently expected to have, right? And then the fact her movie keeps getting pushed off consistently. Like if I was Kevin Feige, I would have released Black Widow ki movie pehle and then Endgame if they wanted to kill her off
Yeah.
anyways. Like it कुछ तो emotional reaction निकले ना मतलब I had barely had any time to bond over it. Yes, she likes peanut butter sandwiches. Yes, she's blonde now. मैं क्या करूँ? That's
But I
I
feel
don't.
like after that reaction, they thought, okay, maybe isko bhi de dena chahiye because like people were sad. People like me were sad. Oh no, they killed the hot
So
person.
dumb. They usually kill the hot person. They kill the hot redhead. God damn it. Why they gotta do that? Marvel has a habit of making redheads really, really sad. I mean, why would you do that?
Oh, Peter ki aunt.
Exactly. Also, Kirsten Dunst. They made her so sad in all three movies, Bichari. Also, Wanda. I keep forgetting. What's the actress's name?
Scarlet Witch. Oh, wo Olsen hai na?
Elizabeth Olsen. Also,
Elizabeth.
so hard. So hard.
Yeah, it's so sad.
So sad. So very sad. Her robot. Her poor robot.
The hotter you are, the sadder you are.
Is that why we're not in Marvel?
I guess so.
They can't justify our sadness. They're just like ये लोग तो है ही ऐसे
पैदा
इनको
ही
रोल
ऐसे
क्या
हुए थे.
देंगे इनको पहले से ऐसे हो मतलब अभी तो कुछ किया भी नहीं है
But देखो,
how
in
do
that, he's so good at it because we've
mm-hmm,
always been this way.
mm-hmm. But
My
then
mom in the
Kevin Feige is like okay but look at how sad they are वैसे ही रोल में जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है मतलब ऐसी मेथड एक्टिंग कहाँ देखी है Kevin Feige somehow knows Urdu as well it's amazing
my parents in the other room being disappointed. हमने इसको सब दिया. ये देखो कैसे डिप्रेशन की बात करी. मार्वल के लिए.
look at her talking about Spider-Man on some random boys
Okay.
podcast
Funny story. My mom thought Marvel was a company for cigarettes,
oh
and
love that
that and my dad and I were just talking about it, and we were in public talking about the new. I think Infinity Wars is what I think. And I
mm-hmm.
was talking about it, and my dad, he said something controversial, and I was like, "No, but Marvel could do this, Marvel could do that." And my mom said, "तुम्हें शर्म नहीं आती बाप से सिगरेटों के बारे में बात करते हैं? वो बाप जो कि फूकता भी नहीं है." And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So yes, that's our fun.
I,
Marlboro
I
and Marvel are the same.
I also love how she considers a dental student is going to take the. I mean, fair enough. I also know doctors who smoke on a regular basis, so who am I to judge? I mean, dentists probably do smoke. What do I know?
I mean,
You know,
they do all
it
kinds
feels
of drugs.
dumb to me though. Like when I consider the fact that these are people, ek to, who firsthand know the side effects, who probably firsthand see how the effects start taking place. But then still, like I understand कि the jobs are very stressful, and then they're also very, you know, I understand that smoking is supposed to be like an antidepressant, but I mean I don't know. I mean you know how bad it gets. It's still you're doing it, and your degree is literally linked to preventing, well, not preventing, but like taking care of people once they've done something stupid because of it. You know, the
Yeah, call out all dental students right now. You can
Oh,
manage
I'm
that.
calling out so many people all at once. Literally everyone is gonna start hating on us after this. Oh, well, me more so.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's like a personal choice. You can do whatever you want, but
hmm
I don't like people who ask other people to do it. Like a
Oh,
first
for
time seeing
sure,
people
for
that
sure.
don't want to do it. मतलब आपकी मर्जी आप जो कर रहे हैं, smoking isn't that bad. I'd say like the effects do come over the years. Like my nana, for example, he
hmm
smoked for like 70 years, then he stopped because I was born, I
hmm
was allergic. So he stopped right away, and he was fine. So again, the
Alhamdulillah.
side effects do accumulate to something,
hmm
and I just feel like whatever you do, keep it to yourself. You shouldn't do it in
For
public
sure.
spaces.
I
Do it
completely
alone. Do
agree
it with
with
people
that.
who do
I
it.
completely agree with that.
So it's
वही बात
like,
आ जाती है ना
yeah.
कि as long as your actions aren't harming anyone else
uh,
or the people around you, do whatever the hell you want. I completely agree
yeah.
with that. My biggest issue with smoking is, okay, for one thing, just like you, I'm deathly allergic. Like, I cannot be in the same vicinity as people who are smoking because I will start coughing and I cannot breathe. And then the smell just makes me want to die. I genuinely do not understand how people enjoy
I'm
the
like this.
smell or just it's disgusting, dude. It's disgusting. And then do people not realize what it does to their teeth? एक तो दांत को संभालना वैसे ही इतना मुश्किल. And then they're like, oh, I will have this forever permanent yellow look. Just
You
live
know
with that.
what? मेरे patients बढ़े ना मेरा धंधा बढ़ा. What is your
I
It's called
mean,
business.
true, true. But then I also don't want you looking at that for the rest of your life. As a friend, I care about your
Oh,
sanity.
bro, I haven't even started, but I can assure you I've looked at worse.
Okay, guys, go keep smoking. I don't give a shit. मर जाओ सब.
I sort of got, Amanda, I feel like after a while, and it's wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
like us and even doctors and like surgeons and stuff, after a while, shuru it's all squeamish, but after a
Mm-hmm.
while, you get so desensitized to the whole thing, not just
Mm-hmm.
physically, पहले तो एक repulsion होता है, बाद में you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, fine, and you kind of tend to lose sort of a bit of humanity as well because you keep
Mm-hmm.
seeing sick people, sad people all the time. So it's like, okay, what's new? So I feel like that's sad.
I mean, yeah, I mean, as depressing as that sounds, I have quite a few friends who are doing medical right now. And one of my very good friends, she is, I believe, a third year or a fourth year. I'm a terrible friend. Anyways, she is like in the later half of her degree right now. She is at Ziauddin. And I was actually, I met her at Ziauddin at one point. We were sitting in the cafeteria. And I asked her, dude, how do you guys like deal with this? I mean, it's part of the main hospital and whatnot, right? So their classes literally go through. Have you been to Southend? Joe Clifton Wala?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for
Got
those
it.
of you who haven't been to Southend, the main Clifton branch, so you basically have to go through the main hospital and then on the side from where you get to like all the operation rooms and whatnot. That's also the same area that the students have to go through to get to their classes. So they're literally having to go through people who are waiting on their families, who are there with their families, sick people, people who have just lost someone, and they have to go through that every single day, all throughout the day if they have classes or if they have whatever. So I asked her, listen, how do you deal with this sort of thing? Because um, at the time I had very recently just lost my nana, and it was a very fresh sort of thing for me. And death to me is one of the most scary things in the world because of how uncertain life is. Like, I'm not scared of my own death, I'm scared of losing the people I love because that is something you can never prepare for. Even when you know it's going to happen, even when you know it's inevitable, you cannot prepare for it. And the blow is never easy to deal with. I was like, how do you guys deal with constantly being around death and sickness so much? He's like, yeah, एक हद तक ना जाके it becomes so normal कि
Yeah.
it's it's just a part of the day. वहां से मैयत आ रही है, वहां से they're rolling some dude whose leg is missing, blah blah blah, XYZ stuff like that. And it scares me that at a point in life, my life may become like that because one of the modules that I'm taking this year is family law. And some of the cases
Yeah.
that my teacher tells me, they are absolutely horrifying. She tells me of cases where children are abused, killed, and then instances where women are caught in divorce cases that are just so horrible. And I think to myself, कि क्या है हमारा मुल्क for one thing, like what is this place? And then secondly, I was like, yeah, as much as I want to do this, as much as I want to be a helping hand to these sorts of people, is it going to be at the expense of my sanity and my humanity? Like, am I just going to become a working machine who doesn't feel at the end of it? And it's a scary thought, right?
Mm.
Because so many of
See, the
these
thing is,
jobs. Mhm.
yeah. Thing is, the moment you stop to realize who are you going to be sad for, like how many would you be sad for, how
Mm-hmm.
many you can possibly sympathize, empathize with, is the moment that you lose a part of your humanity. Like you do,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like I can't. All of these people are known that equally equal to me, right? No one's
Mm-hmm.
lesser, no one's more. But the pain that you see every day, it just either it kickstarts your drive, okay, no, I'm gonna help them as many as I can, or it's either like, dude, this world is hopeless. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the former is something you need to opt for. Again, it's hard. It's not for the weak, honestly. It's really, you
Mm-hmm.
need to push yourself through. You need to hear those stories. You need to, but for one thing, it does make you recognize your privilege. It does
Mm-hmm.
humble you down. It does put you in a place where you're grateful. And even though we joke about being sad and depressed and like all of that shit, but when I hear these stories, it's like, well, wow,
Mm-hmm.
things could be so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's not the right way to go about things, but it does help. It does help.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So one of the things that
Completely.
Alina and I discussed before we started this podcast is how every single conversation we have, it starts at topic A and then it always somehow ends to topic E. There is no natural progression from A to B to C. It is A to E. We started talking about
Yeah.
Marvel and then we talked about the hopelessness that are our degrees in our job. So,
Well, see, Marvel does
mhm.
circulate around death and emotions a lot, so I guess that's one
It
way to
does.
see it.
There's yeah, exactly. It's all linked, you
Yeah.
know. We're not ADHD. It's fine. We're not ADHD. We're totally ADHD. At least I
Wow.
am.
God.
Just putting
No, I
all
feel like
the.
you're the
Mhm.
you are offending so many people right now.
Oh, for sure. This is gonna be my most controversial episode yet. I'm gonna get
Oh yeah.
cancelled for sure after this. But it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. You're gonna pull up. It's fine. Yeah,
This is
देखो
also how I
माशाल्लाह
blow up.
you spontaneously combust. But see, with the brighter side of things, you get to wear a mask when you're public, so at least you won't be jumped. At least.
Exactly. I mean, I'm also like, where am I going? मैं तो क्लास में भी नहीं आ रहा फिलहाल. कोड भी बंद है मैं
Damn,
कहाँ जाऊँ?
damn. Dude,
So
high court में मजे कर, because I've spent my बचपन there, because my dad. तो
let's not say मजे का
आओ
at least. I mean, let's not give people a wrong
दूर दूर
impression.
दूर दूर से अच्छा लगता है.
दूर दूर से अच्छा लगता है. अच्छी बड़ी
चले
बिल्डिंग
क्या
है लाइमस्टोन की.
यार मैं बाहर चाट बहुत अच्छी मिलती है.
कभी कभी चाय भी मिल जाती है
But
वहां
like
पर.
I always wanted someone, like I either wanted to do it myself, but like my dad was like nope. But I always wanted someone to go through the same thing, work at the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Glad I met you, even though our friendship is quite recent.
And it's ironic how it started.
Oh God.
So Alina and I
Oh,
became friends because she is my best friend's
other best friend.
yeah, basically. So we share a best friend, and
Yeah.
it's a very interesting dynamic because we how did we start talking? Was it because of her birthday?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we started
But
talking. No, we started
no, no,
talking
no,
because
no. We
my
met at Dolmen.
yes. So my best friend introduced
Yeah.
us randomly one day at Dolmen. Without so she mentioned to her that if I didn't like Alina, that I was going to be replaced. This was a premise I was
Yeah.
not even aware of, and I was
Sure, I
already
wasn't.
just like,
But I've known her for 7 years. I know she's a weirdo, so I can, I understand. I can't
does it
justify, but
help?
I understand.
That does not help, Alina. I have been here for 3 years now. That does not help. Granted, 4 years
Yeah,
less
dude.
than you.
When she told me that, I was like, why would you put anyone through that mental torture? Like, when there's no expectations, it's like, okay, I like the person or I don't. But when you have this burden on you, if I don't like this person, I'm gone.
I am तो gone.
How the
अच्छा
hell
but
are you
मुझे पता
supposed
ही
to
है ना,
like them?
वो मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था ना. I was not aware that that was a condition. And then बाद में she's dropping me home and she's like, oh by the way, I'm glad that you liked her. I'm like, क्यों? She's like, oh because if you didn't, you'd be replaced. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, madam. Okay.
I have no idea. I was like, dude, that is like so much pressure. Because I don't often
Also,
like
it's
people. Like,
mean.
yeah, I mean, that too. But also, I'm not a kind of person who enjoys other people as much. Like, I would talk to them very normally.
Mm-hmm.
But ghar jaake I'm like, I don't like them.
Did
There's
you think
something
that about
about them I
me?
don't like.
Did you think
No,
that
I
about
didn't.
me? I mean,
Well,
if
I
you
won't
did,
tell you
we
right now. It'll be embarrassing.
literally not in front of like all 10 people who are probably listening later
Yeah.
on in post.
But
बाद
बाद में
में,
बात
she's like
करते
on text, hey, by the way, I don't really like you. Episode of I don't really
हैं.
like you.
I didn't like you right away. नहीं ऐसी बात
But
नहीं है.
like
I didn't like you right
eventually.
away. Yeah, when we dropped you and I was like when we were going to my home, so I was like, I like him. He's nice. He's so sweet. And she had mentioned you quite a few times when we talked, fella.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it's nice. This is nice. And
I
she's
wish
like,
I could
great.
say the same. All I knew about you was you exist. तुम
I
हो.
exist. Yeah, because like again, there's not much someone can say about me when they don't know me. Because it's
No,
like
see, that's not the problem. You and I both know her and know that she is एक तो also an open book, but then she's also a book जिसपे 6 ताले लगे हुए हैं, जिसकी चाबियां किसी को भी नहीं पता कहाँ है. That's the best way to describe her.
not an
She will
open
tell
book, man.
you,
It's like open book जिसके अंदर पन्ने खाली हैं. You need
yes,
UV light to read it.
that, and she's also the sort of book that will tell you random things that you probably didn't want to know or need to know, but the things you want to know, you will not find. She is like Marshawn Lynch. Like that one episode in Brooklyn
Yeah,
Nine-Nine. They asked him a
yeah.
simple question. Did you see something? He's like, bro, मुझे तो quesadilla पसंद है. Recipe. We're
Oh my
doing
God,
that
we're
thing
dragging
again.
her. Yeah, we're dragging her. But I enjoy this. Do it because, I love her.
Same.
But I love her, but but
But
um but the thing is that even sometimes like right now, okay, she didn't know okay I was Bihari, so that came into
mhm.
conversation right now, and she's like, "You were Bihari," and I was like, "How have you known me, but not known where I come from?" And she's like, "I don't know. We keep learning new things about each other every day," and I was like, "That's very true." So that goes to say that she's a horrible listener, or I haven't
See,
mentioned
but then
that.
she's also going to remember the most obscure details about
Yeah,
you
oh my
is
God,
what always makes me just so it makes me feel so loved because she's gonna remember something random obscure that I mentioned probably during our first conversation that I don't even remember at this point. And
dude, she's
one
known
of the
me
things
from a
that I
time that was
love.
so cringy.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I was like so cringy. I just want to. Am I Mission Impossible? Mission Impossible नहीं क्या कहते हैं? Men in Black her.
No, Mission Possible. Yeah. That's what the movie was.
Yeah, Men in Black. Men in Black. I hated. She remembers gross details about my. I was like, ऐसी होती थी, वैसी नहीं होती थी. But then she has screenshots to prove it because she screenshots every damn thing.
That
Oh
could be a
Lord.
violation of privacy. But anywho, so back to Marvel. I feel like the audience is probably just like पता नहीं कहाँ क्या बकवास सुन रहे हैं पता नहीं
हाँ,
हो
अपने
क्या रहा
शुरू
है
हो गए.
मतलब शुरू हो गए ये लोग but yeah, okay,
हाँ.
so Into the Spider-Verse was great, but can they
Amazing.
replicate the magic? What do you think? Do you think they can do it? I don't know. I just
I
don't
don't.
know.
Look, the best part about Into the Spider-Verse was were the like caricatures, like the drawings and the animation and how it was.
Hmm.
How do you replicate that in live action? Because these are people now.
Yeah, we also have people who are hot.
Uh-huh. But
Because
देखो, Death Note. The
Hmm.
anime, amazing.
So
The
hot.
live action, I want to kill myself.
Yeah, but the live action was also Netflix, so you need to keep that in mind
Mm,
as well, right? Because Netflix is like a terrible representation of how most things are done live action. Like they're
Don't even.
very clearly about to mess up Wings Club in a horrible manner.
Oh my God, I am so offended. Tekna was my favorite.
Dude,
They
forget
didn't
that.
even
They've also
bother with her.
they've removed multiple people who were part of representation, and now they're shoehorning representation by introducing new characters that no one asked for. I
Bro,
understand
they
when diversity
whitewashed.
is whitewashed ko to chhod hi do na. They randomly introduced a fat girl for no reason. And then also, I think one of my issues with how they've introduced the one black character, I actually haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know how they've changed the story or whatever. All I've seen is the one screen grab of all of the girls together. The one black character, is she supposed to be Flora or is she supposed to be the other one?
Aisha.
Yeah, but Aisha was
Don't
introduced in like later
know.
seasons.
Yeah, I
Well, no,
really don't know
issue
because they
being
haven't.
the show had two. Well, what ethnicity was Flora supposed to be? She was brown, like she looked brown.
I think she was brown or maybe like Hispanic.
I don't know. There was never brush. मसला एक तो दिमाग खराब है इन लोगों के नाम भी ऐसे टेक्ना, फ्लोरा, म्यूसा मतलब how what okay fine.
But like
No.
Musa looked a little Asian, right?
Oh,
Musa
Musa was
could.
for sure Asian. Musa
Oh,
was for sure
oh,
Asian. Aisha and Flora were for sure. So Aisha ka to was for sure black, but like on more on the browner side. Like her skin tone was more brown.
yeah.
And then Flora was for sure something Latin, Spanish, something along those
Yeah,
lines. Something along those lines,
she
right?
was not black. Plus Tekna bhi, as I feel like you could do whatever you want with Tekna and Stella because उन लोगों का नहीं इतना पता चलता. So you could like move around, play with the
I
whole
feel like
thing.
they were white. I
Room
feel
was
like they were
ginger.
white. But
Room
again,
was ginger.
major उसके अलावा तो बाकी सब तो white ही थे ना. So that was the main thing. They could have just stuck with everyone being white.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just
And एक तो
अभी
they
तो वो भी नहीं
insist
दिखाया
on
the
making
witches.
everything. They insist on making everything dark and grunge, and it's this is basically gonna be like Riverdale, but with magic. लिख के रख लो.
Dude, the fact that they aren't putting Timmy or Brandon in, like Brandon, I feel like every girl can, come through with this. That Brandon has always been their crush. Mainly it was Timmy because I loved Tekna. I loved her so much. And like,
Timmy was the
they
nerd
didn't even
now.
bother with her. Tekna was like the purple hair, yeah. So it's like, what? What have you done? You didn't need to do this. Oh, per se, the screen cap you're talking about, they're wearing horrible clothes. I mean, these are the
Mm-hmm.
Wings, okay? They're known for their impeccable fashion
वही
style.
ना.
What are you doing here?
And then one of the biggest things was how colorful the entire show was. Like
Yeah.
I'm under firm belief they're not even gonna have them with their wings. Like they're literally going to take away one of the things that actually makes them what they are, which is gonna be the dumbest thing because that was one of the biggest parts about their entire characters. How their wings were. For one thing, each girl had something linked to their powers and who they were as a person. And as their powers evolved, so their wings and whatnot, blah blah blah, all of that. But again, coming back to the actual conversation, how do you replicate the magic that Into the Spider-Verse had with live action? And yeah,
Wow, completely forgot what you were on that.
हमारे issue यही होगा. But yes, so I feel like yeah, granted you had a brilliant cast in Into the Spider-Verse with people like Nicolas Cage, you also had John Mulaney,
Mm.
and then the dude who was playing
Danny DeVito.
Spider-Man, you know, just beautiful cast, beautiful, talented people. But yeah, so but then again, you have a similar sort of star cast and star power with Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and then Tom Holland, right? And then Benedict Cumberbatch. All of these people who are just amazing actors in their own right. I feel like again, yeah, बात हुई आज कि how you play the story, that's going to be very, very important, and then the amount of time they're going to give to the movie. I feel like if they take an Into the Spider-Verse, approach to it, I feel like it's going to be good. But again, depends on how they play their cards. It's going to be very important on how they do that because Spider-Man is something that everyone has been so invested in, irrespective of who the actor
Yeah.
was. Like Spider-Man was more beloved than even Superman, I'd say, and Superman has been recast at least 3 to 4 times in the past 20 years. Not 20 years, actually, more than 20 years, because Christopher Reeves, I believe, was in the 1990s, unless I'm mistaken.
Dude, I feel like putting Toby and Tom, like it just comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Because here you have the beginning of Spider-Man, even though 1960s, 63 के comics से है, but no one like he wasn't portrayed like people underestimated how important he was or how loved he was.
Mm-hmm.
So when you finally get Spider-Man, उससे पहले for Toby it was the hardest I believe to transition
Mm-hmm.
into Spider-Man because he had nothing. He had to do it himself. It was
Mm-hmm.
like all him.
Mm-hmm.
He only had like comic books or those cartoons to
Mm-hmm.
take inspiration from, but he did it all himself. And I think he did a good job for
For
if you
sure.
take for
For
from
sure.
and how superhero movies were at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he did his best. So
Mm-hmm.
progressing up to Tom is just like I feel like Tom had it a little easier because उस वक्त तक समझ में आ गया था कि what people like and
Mm-hmm.
what are the things of Spider-Man that were horrible with Tobey or with Andrew Garfield, and now you get this beautiful mixture, right? But
Mm-hmm.
how to use that mixture when you have both of them, both of the things that lack those important things as well? Like, how do you tie it together?
Mm-hmm.
Is my concern. Like, how do you take something that is essentially a test tube baby
Mm-hmm.
and then compare it to something that had defaults?
Mm-hmm.
तो मुझे नहीं
I
समझ में
mean,
आ
yeah, I feel
रहा.
like
That's like my main.
mm-hmm. I feel again, yeah, it's a little too soon to judge and speculate how they're gonna go about it or how things are gonna be different, how they're gonna be good, bad, whatever, right? So until things are a little more concrete, until we start getting more details, maybe even a teaser trailer or a trailer down the line, we're not gonna know what we're in for, right? Because I feel like with every Spider-Man movie, we've been pleasantly surprised, and it's been really, really nice. Like Far From Home was eh, like it was okay. It was okay. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was fine. But hell of a plot twist. Hell of a plot twist.
Mysterio was like,
I mean, I knew from the start Mysterio was going to be the villain. I knew that from the
yeah,
get-go. But J. Jonah Jameson at the end inspired that man. Beautiful. And
yeah.
also bald now, which is so sad. But that's okay.
It's okay.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
It's okay. People are bald all the time. I don't want to be
Yeah,
bald.
Faiz, I actually really like bald people. I like it so much. I like it's just like so nice.
Very nice. Not
Because I
gonna.
have a really big, I
I'm
have a
not gonna.
really
I'm
big
not gonna.
forehead. Okay,
Uh-huh. I'm not gonna go into
so
too
if I
much
tie
detail
my
for that.
hair,
That's no, no.
so from a certain angle, I look bald. So I don't know. I like playing with that a lot.
Mm.
I quite
Okay, we're not gonna
unhinged.
we're not gonna go into that, but we are gonna go into our last point, which is Marvel has decided not to recast T'Challa. They're not gonna recast.
That's fine. I respect that.
I love that decision, but my question is, where do you go from here? Because
Black Cub.
no, but my issue is I don't think Shuri is ready yet, and I don't think T'Challa's story is over yet. Does that mean you get
Yeah,
a standalone and then paste um क्या नाम है यार I'm so bad with names. I hate
yeah,
remembering names.
same. No, all really bad names.
Chadwick Boseman. God damn it. May he rest in
अच्छा
peace.
उनकी
Yeah, but is that what you're just planning? Oh, get a standalone and then paste Chadwick Boseman's face on him? Is that their plan? I hope that's not their plan. Is he just gonna be away? मतलब, yeah, that I'm just so
I think they're gonna kill off the character. I feel like they won't continue with it. Even they won't
No, but
even
that would be the
hint at
smartest
the character.
decision, right? Like they're probably gonna kill him off
Because
screen or something.
I wouldn't. I don't know. I feel like it was such a respectable decision, even though they could make so much money out of it. But
Hmm.
that man was so good at what he did as Black Panther. I felt inspired, even though like that's not even my ethnicity. But I feel
Hmm.
like Black Panther was one of the best movies I've ever
Chadwick
watched.
Boseman did so much for the black community, and
Yeah,
finally getting to see a man who represented what it meant to go through the struggles of someone coming from there and representing them on the big screen, and then Black Panther winning a stupid amount of awards. That was
the
needed
music,
so much. The
the
music,
music,
the
the
cinematography,
costume. Michael B. Jordan shirtless.
indeed.
Indeed. I feel like that's just a statement.
That is a very important statement that needs to be reiterated on numerous occasions. And apart from which, I definitely feel like it would be a smart decision to, I don't know smart, but it feels like the more empathetic thing to not make these sorts of decisions, because fan out outlash or whatever is very, very important. And you can't
Mm,
exactly have your people turning away because again, that's how you make your money or whatever. Um, I personally wouldn't want to see T'Challa go away so soon because I feel like he was just starting to get settled into the MCU. He just made his place, and I would have liked to see him in future movies and future Avengers. But, if Marvel decides to end his story here, maybe later bring back the character in some other means, somehow getting a new actor on board and saying, oh, he got changed because of blah blah blah. He went into some other universe, blah, you never know. So I feel like that could be a way to, incorporate his story in. But yeah, I'm honestly not sure how I feel about, the story ending right now.
mm.
And yeah, it's just a very weird position to be in. So,
That's sad. Oh, by the way, we have
mm-hmm,
our own Pakistani actress, Nimra Bucha, and
mm-hmm,
I don't know if you've seen Jarrell's, but it's one of the best shows we've ever put out. So she's
mm-hmm.
been cast in Miss Marvel.
I saw that.
So
Yeah, that was really, really great. And getting to see
uh,
more and more the women are getting opportunities to go out
yeah,
and be announced. So it's a really great thing to be completely honest.
yeah. Because
But
I
yeah, for
remember when
sure.
Irfan Khan was cast in The Amazing Spider-Man, I was like so
Mm-hmm,
happy because he's one of my favorite actors, and I
mm-hmm,
was like, wow, okay. And to have that here now, like
mm-hmm,
one of your own, even though I'm not very patriotic, but it's
mm-hmm,
a nice thing to see.
for
That woman's
sure.
finally getting recognition because she's so good, and I don't know, she deserves it more than anyone, I guess. So yeah, that made me really happy.
But yeah, so I feel like it's a great thing that we're getting more and more representation of women in positions of these, and we're getting opportunities where they're getting an opportunity to flex their creative muscles, right? It's just amazing. And I'm honestly super, super
Yeah.
excited to see where things are going with time. And yeah, I'm excited to see where the MCU is gonna be in a couple of years because they have some huge things planned, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I'm gonna have to ask this very controversial
Mm-hmm.
question. But MC, Marvel, yeah, DC.
In what context? Comics or movies?
है ना मेरा भी ये होता है. I feel like okay, first you tell
I
comics.
I will always be DC Comics over Marvel Comics, but always
I,
MCU movies over DC movies. Always.
I feel like that's the right answer, if there is one.
Because that's the smartest decision, right? I have personally been more influenced by DC Comics than I have been by Marvel Comics. And I just feel
uh,
like DC has better stories. DC is doing it really, really well.
Especially like after Joker and now Batman.
Dude, everything DC does with their stories is so so good. They just need better directors, to be quite honest, to like
Yeah.
bring their vision to life. They need to stop
Also,
trying to make everything dark and gritty.
yeah, all of it's pretty grunge. So khair. Huh.
But yeah, I
We
think
made it.
that's
We did it.
a good place to end this episode. And yeah, is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I just had a really nice time. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And
you for
we
being on.
didn't completely derail the conversation, but I'm
That's
happy.
fine. That's fine. My audience is probably used to it by now. They probably know I'm ADHD. But yeah, it was
All my
great
therapist friends
having
are
you.
like, "Mm."
They're just like, बेटा ये बात बोलनी नहीं थी, but
Hmm.
But in
Okay.
any case, it was great having you on board, Alina, and I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. I hope you
Yeah, I
guys
did.
listening or watching at home had a good time as well. Apart from us, literally just introducing our private lives too much into this conversation, but you know that's to be expected by this podcast at this point. But
Yes.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. And we will see you guys in the very next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Again.